Governor Chris Sununu is building up his national profile. To what end, it's not clear just yet. But he's going to have to play a little bit of defense on his right flank in September, as several Republican candidates have signed up to run against him, asserting that he has drifted too far from conservative principles. Unseating the popular three-term incumbent is a long shot, but this field says Sununu cannot go unchallenged. We sat down with one of the candidates who is completely new to statewide politics, Thad Riley. Okay, Thad Riley, thanks for joining us on Close Up. We appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're running for governor. Sure.
Well, I live in Brentwood. I'm a dad to 6 kids, and my lovely wife, Melanie, and I have been together for a while, and she's fantastic. I'm a small business owner, and all of my kids go to public school. I've got 2 public school graduates and 4 kids in the school. And that's a lot of my heartbeat in this. It's about doing good for now, but for our future too, and the future generations. And that's on my heart every day when I look at my kids and their futures and what they've endured during this pandemic with a lot of really bizarre stories. So much of this campaign is about doing good. And I think there's some values, too, that we really need to take a step back and look at with career politicians. We face this nationally with a career politician like Joe Biden. We face this with Pelosi. And we face it in New Hampshire with Chris Sununu, who's another career politician. And so I think we need somebody who's kind of the people's person to kind of step up, an average guy in so many ways, who's gone through some of the battles that so many other people have gotten, who's been tested just like so many other people, but has been trusted to lead during difficult times. And I think that right now in this moment in history, somebody like myself, it's the perfect time for an outsider to come forward.
You hinted at it a little bit there in what you just said, but if there was a key issue driving your campaign, what is it?
Well, I think it's education right now. I hear from parents every day. There's a couple big issues, but education is primary. You know, we've had the largest mass exodus of children from our public schools, almost 9,000 now in the past 2 years. And only about a third of those have taken advantage of the Freedom Education accounts. So what about the other 6,000? What's going on in those homes? They just don't trust what's going on in our public schools. New Hampshire's been known for being this symbol of academia throughout the entire country. Move to New Hampshire, come to New Hampshire. We got the best schools for your family. Grow up in New Hampshire. You're going to get the best education possible. And now all of a sudden there's this colossal divide. And it's not okay that we just keep blowing this off. And I don't try to judge everybody's intentions, but parents do not trust our public schools in any way, shape, or form. So we've got to rebuild that trust. And on day one, we'll do that. We'll do that. We're going to have so many things in place, actual things. These aren't ideas. Ideas kind of drift out there. But we've got actual, tangible things that we're going to do on day one to restore parents' trust in our public schools, get us back on track to teaching things that really matter and that really benefit a child for the rest of their life. That's important to me.
Why challenge Governor Chris Sununu in a Republican primary?
It's a great question. The governor and I disagree on a lot of different things. You know, as far as Republicans go, I'm a centrist Republican. I mean, if you went down the things, I'm about our freedoms, you know. And Governor Sununu did a major overreach so often, you know, shutting down businesses, deciding that liquor stores were essentials, but churches weren't, and all these different things. And we say it all the time, make it make sense. When I look back at what happened over the past 2 years, and I saw Governor Sununu stand up at a mic and say, we're the most free state in the country. And yet my children for 2 years are wearing masks in public schools. And I was on the school board for part of that time. And I fought, and I talked, and I did everything I could to help it make sense. My wife works in a nursing home. Those folks had their masks off 6 months before my kids. That doesn't make sense. So make it make sense. And a lot of what Chris Sununu does seems like he's either gearing up for some office run for something else, or doesn't have the heartbeat of New Hampshire parents and even individuals. And small business owners have been really hurt by him. And it's a shame that he's allowed these things to happen. So I think I'm kind of a voice of freedom, and I know what's going on and what folks really, really need as we step forward into 2023, into next year, and what we need for our future here in New Hampshire.
Parental rights are obviously a big part of your campaign, a centerpiece, if you will. But with the opioid crisis, there are a lot of parents out there who just can't meet that standard. And we've seen some really tragic cases and indeed fatalities of kids that were with parents who couldn't take care of them and are no longer with us. So what is the state supposed to do in a situation like that when, as you, as a governor, would emphasize parental rights, but in that case, if the parental rights are emphasized, the child might be in danger?
So, first of all, I'm like everybody else. I was raised by my parents to trust my neighbors. You know, in the world of social media in the days today, we see one little thing wrong and we execute people on social media. And we come after them tooth and nail. I think, first of all, we've got to get these bureaucrats and we've got to get all these folks from pointing the finger and yelling at folks. We're so divided. We're so angry. And people will say abuse is something that isn't even abuse. And that's why I say make it make sense. So I think we're talking about two separate issues. Let me just talk about the drug issue, if that's okay for a second. My grandfather was a drug dealer. He was a horrible, horrible drug dealer out of Dayton, Ohio. He ruined my mom's childhood, so much so she was homeless, on the streets, burned down the house on her in the middle of the night. And I understand completely the devastation that drugs and a drug dealer can do to the families in New Hampshire. So we are going to get to this on the bottom of this on day one. And I'm going to be working with law enforcement and empowering them first of all. But we've got to do something about illegal immigration. And people say, well, we're in New Hampshire. Hey, these planes are coming in. Things are happening all the time to bring illegal immigrants, illegal criminals into our state. And we've got to have law enforcement empowered to know that we have their back to do the job. But we've also got to do the job in the schools too and create a better path for kids in the high school. We've been so focused on what they can't do. You can't play sports for a while without a mask. Well, that didn't make any sense. They're outside playing soccer with masks on. I coached a soccer team. And I'm like, these kids have to wear masks. I don't get it. And we look at it now, it's like, yeah, that was probably ridiculous. And they were sent on remote school and all these different things. We want to get kids to live their lives as children the way you and I could. When we were growing up, Adam, we had this whole different life. We were outside playing with our friends. We weren't sucked into the phones, the screen time, which has a purpose. But we want to inspire kids, and we want to inspire people in New Hampshire to think about a hard day's work, to think about the feeling after working hard and doing good for their family. I think we've lost a lot of that vibe, and we said, stay home, stay home, stay home. And people binge watched. And the government doesn't need to be in your house telling you what to do. But I think this is a position where you can inspire people to new elevations in their life. I mean, that's what I do for a profession, to try and encourage and inspire others. And I think you can do that without any type of overreach. And that's what we need more than ever, I believe.
You mentioned immigration. One of your top issues, you say on your website, you would, quote, defend our state borders against illegal entry. What do you mean by defend? You want law enforcement? You want military on the state borders?
No, I don't want that. So it's a little bit different story. So in 2017, 2018, 2019 had something in common. Every year from Canada, illegal immigrants had doubled. How do we know that? That's how many people the Border Patrol picked up. So it's like 250, 500, and then 1,000, okay? Now, the pandemic then slowed all of that down, okay? But we know, what's it doing now? It's starting to pick up again, okay? We've got to make sure that our Border Patrol isn't being pulled from the Canada border to go down south like they are right now to help defend the border and the crisis down there, which is a Joe Biden nightmare every day, and we know that. We've got to fund and defend that border up north and make sure that they have the resources that they use. And then when law enforcement needs to make an arrest and needs to do their job, that they know that they're not being overly criticized. Yes, there are always going to be issues out there that we need to investigate, but at the same time, they need a governor who stands behind law enforcement, believes in them, and supports them 100% to do their job. And parents need that too. They need to feel safe with their kids and drugs in our schools. And a lot of this is about illegal criminals coming in with drugs and hurting our folks. We've got to find a path to it, and I believe it's by supporting law enforcement and shoring up the northern border.
What about the issue of abortion? Obviously, a central debate at the State House these days.
That's right.
Where do you stand on this? If you're governor and additional restrictions on abortion would come to your desk, would you sign them into law? That is expanding the ban beyond just the third trimester. It's
hard for me to know what I would sign without seeing it specifically. And having gone through so much of this before in my time in community service, I know people will tell me about a bill, they'll say this is the bill, and then you get it in front of you, you're like, this isn't even the bill. And so you have to go through and be able to read it. So for me to guess on what I would do and say is really an impossible thing to do. But here's what I would say. You know, people have a vested interest. Career politicians and different political groups have a vested interest. I mean, you look at the hundreds of billions of dollars spent every year. I would say this way, hundreds of millions of dollars in America on abortion. And what do we have after 49 years? We've got this line in the sand. Pro-choice people over here, pro-life people over here. Let's all start yelling at each other and let's scream at each other. And in the meantime, we'll get nothing done good. I'll tell you what we're going to do on day one. My focus is this. I want to do good for moms. I want to do good for babies. So what does that look like? It looks like us not being divided by these labels that everybody wants to get. This is the politician's goal. This is what they want to do. I don't like labels. I want every woman in New Hampshire, if they're pregnant and it's something that is at a hard time in their life, they wake up and they say, first thing they say is, thank God I live in New Hampshire. And they feel empowered and strengthened. And we've got to bring advocates together. It's so expensive to adopt. Now, the government doesn't need to have their hand in everything, but we need to make that path more pure and more good for adoption, for fostering, and we got it. So much of this is getting to work. We've seen the problems with the fostering programs here, and we need to get everybody together on the same page. We need fundraisers with us. But I don't like the labels. I know who I am. I'm pro-life, definitely, but I'm so much more than that, and I will not be confined by labels no matter what people try to throw on me.
The next governor is going to play a role in deciding whether or not to bring back Medicaid expansion in New Hampshire.
Right.
If you're in the corner office, are you accepting more of that money from the federal government, or are you saying no thanks?
There's a good chance I'm saying no thanks. I want to be very cautious, especially with the problems of the administration right now. Any money that we accept sometimes comes with things in that contract. I don't think the people of New Hampshire want us stuck with the swamp. I don't think they want us, to be under the throne of anything like that. And anytime you give somebody money in any situation, there is always usually a catch with it, unless it's like Christmas with my mom, who was pretty generous. And so I would say that I'm going to be extremely hesitant to take any federal money for any programs without diving in deep and making sure it benefits people in New Hampshire. And I'm really cautious about that, especially in this day and age. Strings attached, politicians going crazy. We need to make sure we're doing good.
All right, Thad Riley, thanks for joining us on Close Up.
Thank you, Adam.